or like where John and I grew up in the Midwest, where we had Halloween was still scary, and they had like another name for like the trick or treating, right? I forget what it was called, but anyway, it was like not Halloween. It was like trick day or something like that. And,
right.
Because it's like, we're that old. We lived in the age of the needles in the apples.
Yeah. Needles and razor blades.
Yes. I don't know. I think that may never have actually happened, but that's like, we'll see about that. Well, I'll look into that after the show. Lots to talk about today. Little housekeeping. Please like, follow, and share the show. We are still reeling from the doxing of our producer, Robbie West, who is off the show for now because of the fact that some a-hole decided to make it his business or her business to go after him over the fact that they didn't like his political opinions. Stupid. So we're working hard. We're scheming here to get Robbie back, and we have plans. John and I have plans for how you guys can help us make that happen. No Robbie means a less efficient, less big show, and we're trying to grow this show, and it is growing thanks to you guys. So, we will have some ideas for you about that starting next week. Donald Trump has announced a resumption of nuclear testing. I have lots of thoughts about that. I would assume John.
I was going to ask you if you believed him, Ted, or if this was just Trump being Trump.
God, I mean, that's the big question we can ask about Donald Trump all the time, right? I mean, it's kind of like, he's just, I saw some comment from someone who was, one of his supporters and said, that's just Trump trolls. He just says things. And, that's true. He does. And then sometimes there's no follow-up. But, my cold, cynical heart, John, wonders if this is just his trolling is a way to run things up the flagpole to see if anyone salutes. Hey, I want to do this. Will anyone care? Will it stick? I mean, think about the way he campaigns so off the cuff, right? Like no prepared speeches, just extemporaneous talking. He goes out there, he talks randomly, takes note of the applause lines, and then repeats those. And that's just sort of that's his method. I'm wondering if he's going the same exact way. I mean, let's try a lot of things. Let's see what's popular. We're going to be talking about, for example, the Argentine beef thing, right? Importation of Argentine beef is really pissing off MAGA world and the farmers in particular who are part of the MAGA coalition. He may back away from that because he's getting singed on that. Support for Israel. He's getting singed for that. So he's a little gun shy. But, he doesn't seem to really think he's losing the shutdown. So for now, it goes on. So, I mean, it's just like, he's the most. I just wonder if nuke testing is like, if no one responds, like if it doesn't seem to matter. And I don't think he's worried about the international community. I think he's worried about, domestically, will people think he's crazy? Then, maybe it goes forward. But we have to talk about, what do you think, John? Do you think it's for real? I mean, I kind of think it is for real.
And I don't. And maybe I'm underestimating him. But he put this on Truth Social yesterday. And he ended it by saying, "Thank you for your attention to this matter," in capital letters with multiple exclamation points. And the Russians jumped up and down. The Chinese jumped up and down. There are already editorials and op-eds saying this is a big mistake. And I think what he was doing was just saying it to see what the reaction would be. I don't think it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen.
I guess, I mean, okay, so I feel like, okay, it's been like an even 80 years since the first atomic tests. And of course, the biggest ones we sort of used on 2 civilian targets. Those were kind of atomic tests. People aren't that aware of it. But, one of the big reasons we now know from declassified files that the government, the U.S., that the War Department wanted to bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki was they wanted to study the effects. They really were not sure what they would be. They wanted to see what it would do to a civilian target or to a city, right, more accurately. But I mean, what is the purpose at this stage? I mean, I feel like I'm going to ask my father about this. You know, he's an aeronautical engineer, was deeply involved in the nuclear program. But I mean, at this stage, what is the point? I remember him telling me that, like, even at the height of the Cold War in the 70s, the Pentagon wasn't sure that, like, when we went to DEFCON 4 and that we turned the key and we launch, we're not sure how many of the missiles would even launch, how many of them would strike their targets. He said he compared it to building a car in your driveway, but you never get to drive it, so you don't know how it handles. And it's like, how cars work, you know how to build cars, but until you start the ignition, it goes somewhere, you don't really know. I mean, aren't we kind of past that? I mean, nuclear technology is really well understood now. What would be the purpose of this except just, brinksmanship, pollution? I mean, what's the point?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know, unless he's, it may be this old school Trump strategy of just keeping everybody guessing on a myriad of issues, right? Right now we're having conversations about restarting nuclear testing and whether or not he's going to meet with Kim Jong-un. The answer for today is no. And what's going to come out of the China talks that ended yesterday? And what about Argentina and Argentine beef? And what about what's happening in Brazil and rare earth metals? And there's just so much that he's throwing at us right now. I wonder if it's just to keep people preoccupied with other things so they don't bitch about the government shutdown, for example, or they don't criticize him for going all the way to Asia, meeting with the Chinese premier. What's his name?
Xi.
What's his full name?
Oh, Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping, thank you. Meeting with Xi Jinping and accomplishing almost nothing. So maybe this is just part of the Trump strategy to confuse everybody.
I think
otherwise, I'm not sure what to make of all of it.
No, I think at this point, no one ever is, right? I mean, things are so random with this guy. It's impossible to know when he's being serious or not. But I mean, I do think it's worth analyzing. And before we do, I want to answer F.U. So's question. We both should, about our thoughts on the Russian nuclear-powered missile that was tested recently. I mean, it seems to me like that's what Trump's responding to. He's very reactive. Yeah.
Listen, I'm not an engineer, but when I first heard this, my thought was, how in the world can you safely use nuclear power to power a missile? I don't understand how the nuclear material doesn't burn up or explode.
I think the propulsion system can be kept discreet from the nuclear payload, right? I mean, from the warhead. I think that's how it happens. Also, often the warhead is separate from the propulsion system, right? Usually, it always is. I mean,
it just seems to have.
We think that nukes are fragile, but they're really not, right? Like, we've had so many. In the Cold War, there were primitive nuclear bombs that fell out of the sky. Like, where was it? Kansas or someplace? In North Carolina, South Carolina, someplace like that. And nothing happened, right? And it's because, they're not just going to go boom, right? It doesn't work that way. You need to trigger the chain reaction through the detonator.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
It makes sense, actually. But the fact that it's nuclear powered is kind of neither here nor there. It doesn't really represent anything other than a sort of energy savings. It's not like a special missile, a more dangerous missile, a more nuclear missile. It's not. It's not something that should really worry.
It just seems to be more. It seems that it would be more dangerous, far more dangerous, in the event of an accident.
That's true. Yeah, I think that's right, because you're going to have more more radioactivity, accidental radioactivity release. This is unrelated, but you and I are especially qualified to answer this question from Bonsitkin. How is Ohio and Pennsylvania the Midwest? John, care to answer?
Yeah, Ohio is definitely the Midwest. Pennsylvania, the part of Pennsylvania where I'm from, I guess the mentality is that of the Midwest. It's funny. I always considered myself to be an Easterner until I went to school in DC. And then I realized I was very much not an Easterner. I was kind of raised as a Midwesterner.
Yeah, you have Midwestern culture and values. No question about it. I mean that in the best possible way. For people who are not from the eastern part of the United States or from the United States, they don't understand the history of why it's called the Midwest, right? So it's the Midwest because it was called that when the country was a lot smaller and a lot more easterly than it is today. Right. And it's a legacy thing. It's sort of like why the Middle East is called the Middle East. Logically, the Middle East should really be like, I don't know, Kazakhstan. It's like, if you think about it, right. Logically, the Midwest should be Colorado. But it's not, because it's a legacy thing. That's the answer to the question, really. But in terms of, and I do think there's a major difference in culture between the Plains states and the proper Midwest. To me, the Midwest is the old Northwest Territory, right? Like that's really what it is. And then when you start getting out into Kansas, to me, that's not really the Midwest. It's still flyover country, but it's not the Midwest.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, so let's get back to this issue with the nuke testing, right? So I have thoughts about this. My a little bit personal, like, so my ex-wife, her sister, she and her sister and her family, they all lived in Utah, in southwestern Utah. Back in the 1960s and 70s, and her sister got and died from leukemia. Years later, when I met her, we were friends. She was like still, obviously, as you can imagine, traumatized by the death of her 13-year-old. She was 13, her sister was 8. Died, horrible death. Now leukemia is not a death sentence, but it was then, and I remember coming across this amazing statistic that 50% of leukemia cases in the United States during the 60s, 70s, and 80s were in the state of Utah and Nevada. And those are really not populous states, right? I mean, they probably represent 1/200th of the population of the United States, maybe. And so I was like,
but they each get 2 senators.
Yeah, they do. And I was like, how'd that happen? And then I remembered Nevada nuclear testing, and the prevailing winds in most of the continental United States are from southwest to northeast. It made perfect sense. You just have to look at a map. That's the way that the radiation flowed. I mean, I'm thinking about my one of my French relatives, deceased, not related to nuclear, deceased husband. And he was a diver for I think we talked about him, for the French Navy. And he was involved in, he helped carry, using mixed gases, French nukes down to the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, where they had these tests pretty late, I think into the 80s, right? The whole world arrived at a consensus in the late 1980s that nuclear testing was unnecessary and terrible for the environment. I mean, you're basically nuking the planet without even having a war. What is the point?
That's right.
So I mean, it's really an incredibly retarded thing to do. And here we are. So I think it's important for people to be reminded of, like, there's a massive ecological toll to be paid. This is exactly the last thing that anyone, the US, Russia, China, anyone ought to be doing.
And Pentagon people that I have known over the course of my career, who have sort of operational jurisdiction over nuclear weapons tell me that we don't need to physically test them anymore, that we can test them using computer modeling, right? That nobody needs to physically test them, actually detonate nuclear weapons anymore. We have, the technology that we use is so sophisticated that you can just do it as a computer model and then learn from the model. Detonating this stuff, underground or in the atmosphere or at some atoll down in the South Pacific, all it's going to do is kill people in slow motion.
Thoughts on the recent intel operation to recruit Nicolas Maduro's pilot?
Right.
I don't know anything about this story.
Yes. So the CIA apparently pitched Nicolas Maduro's personal pilot with the idea that this was clearly a CIA operation, if it's true. It probably is true. But the idea would be that you recruit the pilot. Maduro decides to flee Venezuela. He's going to go, let's say, to Cuba or onward to Russia. And instead of landing in Cuba, the plane lands in Miami.
No.
And then he's under arrest.
What?
The CIA has done that. There are three operations that I can think of off the top of my head where the CIA did that.
Really?
Yeah. It's not hard. If
Little
you
bait and switch.
recruit the pilot, you're in.
Wow. I mean,
yeah. And with Trump blabbing to the whole world that he had approved a covert action finding, which you're never ever supposed to talk about. To me, that would be kind of an obvious part of a covert action operation.
And so, I'm sorry, I missed this story, John. So what happened? So how did the story come to light?
Somebody blabbed. It was a couple of days ago. I'm gonna look it up. But somebody blabbed.
I mean, did he?
Yeah.
Did the pilot come forward and say, "Hey, guess who called me"?
Yeah, the Associated Press. Here it is. The Associated Press wrote about it first, but then a Japanese newspaper is saying that the idea was that the plane would land in the United States. A longtime U.S. law enforcement agent secretly tried to recruit Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's pilot to join a plot to capture the Venezuelan leader and deliver him into U.S. custody to face international drug trafficking charges. Details of the plot are emerging as the Trump administration exerts increasing pressure on Maduro. The Trump administration is offering $50 million for Maduro's arrest.
So they were going to try to do to him what they did to Manuel Noriega of Panama.
Exactly right.
With the fake drug charges. I mean, I'm sorry, those were fake drug charges.
Yeah, they were fake drug charges.
I mean,
listen, everything that Manuel Noriega did, he did either at the behest of the CIA or with the knowledge of the CIA because he was a paid CIA asset. Even when he was president of Panama, he was a paid agent of the CIA.
Yeah, it's like Saddam. It's an employment dispute.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so we never got to the little rundown, but other stuff that I had in the rundown, and obviously, as always, if you're watching live on Rumble and YouTube, please go ahead and chime in with your comments and questions. We'll try to get to all of them. We have this Argentine beef thing, the SNAP benefits, dual deadline, falling off a cliff November 1st, Saturday, both the expiration of food stamp benefits as well as the Affordable Care Act subsidies, Republicans feeling the heat, and then the Dutch elections. So what do you want to do?
Well, let's do the Dutch elections real quick, only because it's big news here. I told you the only English language TV station I get is the French English language 24-hour news station. And man, it's been just all about the Dutch election. What I find interesting is that Wilders the far right anti-immigrant candidate. He's the one who forced this election a couple of weeks ago when he pulled his party out of a very fragile governing coalition. The governing coalition was made up of 4 parties, all right of center. His is an extreme right party that wants to round up all the immigrants and the refugees and throw them out and send them back to their countries. He believed that public opinion was with him. Public opinion had moved to his side, and that not only would his party pick up seats in parliament, they would pick up enough seats so that he would become prime minister. In fact, yesterday, he lost a seat. Not only did he not win so big that he would be prime minister today, he lost a seat. And now the other parties are trying to form a coalition that would not include him. The guy that won, his name escapes me now because I'm not a regular follower of Dutch politics, but the guy who won is like 30-something years old, and he's going to be the youngest ever prime minister of the Netherlands. But the government will likely not include these haters from the far right.
So what do you make of that, John? I mean, what is the implication? I mean, we're always trying to read the tea leaves of some sort of which direction is the West and Western Europe in particular drifting. We look at France, we look at Germany. Now we're looking at Holland. Is the trend here that there is no trend? What is it?
I think that what we saw in the Netherlands yesterday is similar to what we're seeing in France, similar to what we're seeing in Italy and in Greece, maybe to a slightly lesser extent, Hungary and Poland, because they already hate immigrants. But I think we've gotten almost to a tipping point where far-right candidates are going to be elected to parliament, but we're not at a point where there is such deep and widespread hatred of immigrants that it's the far-right anti-immigrant candidates who actually form the government.
That's super interesting. So nativism is a plurality, but not a majority.
Yes, that's exactly how I feel. Yeah.
They just can't get to roughly 50%.
Can't quite get there. No.
Super interesting.
And Greece too, just using Greece as an example, the Greeks have a real hatred and distrust of fascism because of their experience during the Second World War with the Nazis. And even beyond the Nazis, the Greeks have had fascist governments over the years in the form of military dictatorships. They never, ever want to go back to those days. And so about 10 years ago, a new party formed called I Chrysaavie. It means the Golden Dawn. It was an avowed Nazi party. The mainstream parties weren't prepared for it. And so they won 8 seats in parliament. The idea that if you ignore them, they'll go away turned out to not be workable. And so there was a second election. They won 12 seats. So what the government did was hate speech is a crime in Greece. And so when the leader of the party gets up on the floor of parliament and says that he hates all immigrants, he hates all Jews, he wants to throw the immigrants out and throw the Jews out, he's arrested as he's walking off the floor of the parliament. He and the party spokesman then are put on trial for hate speech. They're convicted and they're given 13 years in prison. He just got out last week.
Wow.
So that's how you break fascism. At least that's how they did it in Greece. I suspect that the Dutch, the Danes, maybe the French, others are headed there.
I mean, it's funny to me. You mentioned the history of World War II, something I'm obsessed with. So one of the big takeaways of World War II was that people were trapped behind borders, and it killed a lot of them, right? I mean, if German Jews had been able to escape, into France and Spain more easily, and then out of Europe entirely, they would have been saved, or Spain would have been good enough. So it's kind of like the ability to the EU with the open borders policy was meant to sort of be a solution here. And my reading is that the migrant flow from North Africa that started 20 years ago in a major way, just basically was a tipping point that just drove people crazy, and they forgot that history. But I mean, if you're European, you feel this need, like you might need to be able to leave, and if you might need to be able to leave, maybe you should be sympathetic to other people's need to cross borders. But I guess a lot of people don't feel that way.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I see in the chat, well, that nice democracy that is. Yeah, you're right. It's fascist. It's anti-democratic to squelch free speech. But we deal with the same issues here in the United States. Like, is shouting fire in a crowded theater an act of free speech? So
threatening the life of the president of the United States.
Exactly.
Right?
There's a limit. There's a limit to free speech. Yeah, there's a limit to free speech. So, yeah, does it squelch free speech? Sure, it does. But there's going to have to be an end to free speech at some point. The Greeks just happen to do it differently than the Americans do.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, obviously, like countries like England make it, have very strict libel laws. As a victim of libel, I would say that I'm sympathetic to that.
Right. Right.
So, all right. So, question here for you, John, from Sean Pat 6882. Did you see the alternate story on the Bin Laden raid? Some guy on TikTok claims that the ISI, which is Pakistani intelligence, gave him up to $25 million, basically to let them in the door, and then they spread his body over the mountains. I heard the spreading the body over the mountains story.
I honestly had not heard that. No.
I mean, wasn't that the Cy Hirsch story? Was that the body wasn't really disposed, wasn't really buried at sea, that they basically chopped him up, or maybe didn't chop him up, but threw him out from the chopper over the mountains.
But if you control the skies and the sea, why would you risk somebody finding the body?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, and it's a much more traveled place than people think. Yeah,
it is. That's right.
So, well, I mean, in the 25, I don't know.
I don't know. I heard that he's living in Brazil under an assumed name and with plastic surgery. I've heard all kinds of silly stuff. No, Bin Laden's dead.
Very fun question for you, John. With you being ex-CIA, can't you use your contacts to find out who doxed Robbie? Then we can dox that bastard.
I know. It's very tempting. Let me tell you. I have to say I'm very upset about what happened with Robbie, and I'm personally offended that somebody would do this to him.
Well, yeah,
I really, yeah.
I mean, the only bright spot is, I guess, this show is getting so big that it's starting to attract that when you get attention, you get the wrong kind of attention too sometimes.
Yeah. Hey, not to change the subject, Ted, but did you happen to see this breaking news from the New York Times just a few minutes ago? There is a new poll, which they're calling a comprehensive poll from Emerson, which is really good. And it's among likely voters in the election on Tuesday. It has Mamdani at the magic number of 50 and Cuomo at 25. Curtis Sliwa has 21.
Curtis Sliwa is nibbling away at Cuomo, not at
of all
Mamdani.
Things. That's right.
Well, it makes sense, right? Because the Cuomo vote is an anti-Mamdani vote. I have a sort of an indirect contact inside the Mamdani campaign, is the best way to put it. And I know that this is I think I mentioned this here on the show like a week ago, that the internal polling was showing that Mamdani was at 50%, and the campaign really wanted that, so that there couldn't be a talking point on the right or the Cuomo right to say, look, he's not legitimate. It's a plurality. It's not a majority. I mean, look, people be having talking points no matter what. But that is interesting. It confirms what we heard last week.
And get this, the poll found further that among New Yorkers who have already voted, 58% say they voted for Mamdani.
Now, I think so. I went to the polls. I asked the election workers. Granted, this is only in my precinct, but things were sleepy. I was like, "How's turnout?" And they said, "Has it been busy?" And they said, "Not that busy." Now, this is early voting, and it might have just been like I think I went on like day 2 or 3. It might have been like just like an anomaly, but that's what I was told. So apparently, lower turnout would benefit Cuomo is the current thinking.
Yes,
but like the powers that be, I think, have to have accepted that reality. I mean, I'm very curious how this mayoralty is going to look, but I suspect it's people who are hoping for a radical left turn in New York City are going to be disappointed. It's not going to happen, because that's not what he's going to want to do. And it's like, it's just, it wouldn't probably be smart from his point of view. I'm curious, like how Cuomo's feeling about this. I mean, you're the governor.
Did you happen to see Cuomo yesterday talking to a group of New York City reporters? He was getting desperate. Somebody asked him how he could criticize the nominee of the Democratic Party when he spent his entire life as a Democrat, and now he's not a Democrat.
Right.
His response was so telling. He said that he is the only Democrat in the race, that Mamdani is a socialist who happened to win the Democratic line on the ballot. He said, I'm an independent, but I'm actually a Democrat. Mamdani is a socialist. He's a socialist like Maduro or Castro or Stalin or Kim Jong-un. Ask them about socialism, he says. And I was like, oh my God, you're Ronald Reagan all over again. You're no Democrat.
He's fucking old is what he is.
Yeah, and he's desperate.
Yeah. I mean, looking back on, I do really miss those Theodore White Making of the President series. My God,
I still have every one.
And they're so good. And I really wish there was like that major campaigns, that there was some great historian or historians who did like a series of these. This would be a great campaign to do an after action report on, right? Like how did Eric Adams fuck up? How did Andrew Cuomo fuck up? It's Andrew Cuomo's race to lose, right? It was Eric Adams' race to lose, and they did.
Everybody just assumed that he was going to be mayor after Adams. Adams was such a disaster.
I assumed that.
I did too. I did too.
So what happens? Like, there you are. You're the former. I guess it's like, is he really just that unskilled and out of touch of a politician? It's hard to believe. I mean, maybe he is. Maybe he's just like the apple fell far from the tree with him. Mario was a very skilled politician.
Very skilled.
And it seems to me like he's just he never read the room, right? The key here, if you were going to, honestly, the key here would have been to out Mamdani. He should have pulled a Clinton and co-opted Mamdani's big ideas about affordability and and excessively high rents, and then said, I'll give you all of that, but I'm experienced and I know how to deal with Albany. I mean, I'm writing my column about that this week, but basically voters have a chance. In most elections, they're just picking a job, but in some elections, they have a chance to send a message. And sometimes sending the message is more important than who you pick. That's an election like this, right? Like New Yorkers are like, yeah, we will vote for a 34-year-old state assemblyman over the three-term governor of New York, who's from a political dynasty. We will do that because we're trying to tell the DNC we're pissed off. And also, Michael Bloomberg's probably the guy who really elected Zohran Mamdani, because every time we got those racist mailers that have like Mamdani's face darkened and stuff, or he's wearing like his Islamic gear, but whatever. There's always at the bottom, paid for by Michael Bloomberg. And it's like, everyone's like, fuck you, Michael Bloomberg. We respected you for your mayoralty, and now we don't.
That's right. That is right.
People don't want to be told what to do.
And there's some years, and this is one of those years where it's just simply time for a change. People want a change. Eric Adams, my best friend from college, Tom Fitzpatrick, he used to come on my radio show with Michelle every once in a while. He spent 32 years as a judge in New York City. He's a lifelong Democratic Party functionary and one of my best friends in the world. And I actually stopped having him on because he would just spew out whatever the latest DNC press release was. Say stuff like, we need to trust in President Biden because he knows what's best for all of us. And it's like, are you crazy? Anyway, I remember 4 years ago, we were talking about Eric Adams, and he said he was going to vote for Eric Adams. And I said, how in the world could you vote for a guy, first of all, who's a lifelong cop? He was a captain in the New York City Police Department. So he's I'm sorry, but a fascist, heavy-handed, badge-heavy cop, number one.
True.
And those were the nicest words I could think to say what I mean. And he's a conservative. And he said, yeah, but the subway system's really bad and it's dirty. And a homeless guy punched my 15-year-old daughter in the face, which was true. That happened. A crazy person just walked up to his daughter as she's walking home from school and just punched her in the face. And then look what you got. You got Eric Adams. You knew exactly what Eric Adams was going to be like. He told us what he was going to be like. Okay, now look at Cuomo. Have people forgotten the hundreds, perhaps thousands of deaths that Cuomo was responsible for when he warehoused elderly people in nursing homes, knowing that they would get COVID and die?
Yeah.
I haven't forgotten because I lost two friends in New York City from COVID, thanks to Cuomo. So no, I don't think people have forgotten.
My mother was in a nursing home and fortunately died 2 weeks before the lockdown, right? But if she was a New Yorker, and that could have happened to her.
Yep. So yeah. I just don't see why anybody is surprised that Cuomo's losing this election. I never, once Mamdani made a name for himself, I didn't think Cuomo had a chance.
Yeah, look, Mamdani has been, also what's interesting is he's really a gentleman, right? Mamdani is a happy warrior. He's always polite. He rolls with the punches. He's nice. Meanwhile, he's getting beaten up by these goon like characters like Cuomo.
Right.
Cuomo was on some talk show the other day, and he was laughing at the idea that that somehow we'd have another 9/11 because Mamdani was the mayor of New York, and just wallowing in the Islamophobia. He's not getting it, right? I think people would have really voted for Cuomo if they thought that he could deliver the stuff that Mamdani is interested in delivering. I'm not going to say will deliver. Interested in.
Is interested. Hey, Sneaker Dad 1020 says, Cuomo campaign reminds me of Hillary Clinton campaign 2016. There's a sense of entitlement. That is 100%. Absolutely right. That is absolutely right. It's like, it's his turn because he's smarter than everybody else and he was governor. So now he's going to come and rescue the city, save the city. We don't like you. You're not going to be the mayor.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, that is exactly it. Shall we talk about this Argentine beef thing?
Yeah. Let me go on record first as saying I went to Argentina on my honeymoon 20-something years ago, and I couldn't wait to get there to try the beef because it's supposed to be the best beef in the world, right? And I hated it. I thought it was gamey and strong tasting, and they eat literally every part of the cow, the guts, the intestines, the stomachs, everything. They eat everything. So I don't know what the craze is for Argentine beef. I much prefer American beef.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, look, American farmers are have long been a semi-protected sector of the U.S. economy, and I'm all for that. I think obviously nothing's more essential than food, and you always want to have control, domestic production of food as much as you can. That's just, to me, not left or right. That's just common sense. But what is this hard on that President Trump has for Milei? I mean, he's sending first 20, then $40 billion. He knows that this is going to anger his America First base. Now he's going to import foreign Argentine beef. It probably won't even reduce beef prices in the United States to any appreciable amount. You won't notice, shoppers won't notice the difference, but American farmers feel like they will, as their wholesale prices drop. Even the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Jason Smith from Missouri, very powerful Republican, high-ranking, fired off a scathing letter calling it a betrayal of America First principles, saying that basically cattle prices have never been higher, so the costs for the farmers, the beef farmers, are sky high, and you're going to hit them right when they're down with this. I mean, this seems like,
it's exactly the opposite of what the president should be doing. Yes, totally agree. But I think that he's got this love affair with Milei, because Milei quoted him during his own presidential campaign. He announced that he would be the Donald Trump of Argentina. It's that ego stroking that Trump so loves. Milei jumped right into it with both feet. And so he's being paid back with a $40 billion bailout and a lowering of tariffs on Argentine beef. And screw the American cattle farmers, right? Trump's going to win, or a Republican's going to win Texas anyway, and Oklahoma, and all these other places that raise beef cattle. There it is.
Well, I mean, big question. Does Donald Trump care about the future of the Republican Party after Donald Trump?
After 2016, I would have said no, or 2020, I would have said no. Now it looks as though he's actually trying to school J.D. Vance. That has surprised me because, and you and I have talked about this, I would have thought that he would have chosen Marco Rubio to be, the carrier of the torch. It looks like it's J.D. Vance. So I think that he's at least putting some thought into carrying on, his MAGA legacy.
Well, yeah. I mean, but it's like this. I mean, the Argentine thing is like, I think it's misbegotten from his own point of view. I would have been like, Mr. President, this is, no one in the United States has ever voted in favor of a candidate because they're pro-Argentina, but lots of people have voted for a candidate because they're pro-farmer, who aren't even farmers. I'm pro-farmer.
Yeah,
I don't want to farm ever.
I am too. Yeah. I have an uncle on my dad's side who was a beef farmer. He raised cattle for beef in Virginia. He had a 550-acre farm. So yeah, I mean, we need them as Americans. We need them. So why are we importing this foreign beef? And one of our viewers had a good question in the chat. Why is there no country of origin designation on beef? I want to know if I'm buying foreign beef.
Me too.
Argentine, Brazilian, whatever it is, Chinese, so that I can choose American beef.
Yeah, me too, for sure. Hey, we do have an ad. We got to make some money, so let's go do that. Looking for smarter ways to browse and enjoy your favorite content without ads, get the Perplexity Pro bundle with Rumble Premium for just $19.99 a month when you sign up before December 31st. It's normally a $29.99 value. With Rumble Premium, you'll get an ad-free viewing experience across all your devices and access to exclusive premium content. No interruptions, just the video and streams you love anytime, anywhere. Plus, Perplexity Pro, say that 5 times fast, boosts your productivity with unlimited research, unlimited uploads, exclusive member perks, and access to the latest and most advanced AI models for faster, smarter answers every day. Save over 30% on this powerful bundle. Head to rumble.com/premium before December 31st to sign up and unlock your premium experience. Hey, John, have you checked out Grokkopedia, the Elon Musk's take on Wikipedia?
To tell you the honest to God's truth, I'm boycotting it.
Oh, really?
I am. I want nothing to do with Elon Musk. Nothing.
Gotcha. Well, I did check it out. It's definitely a different. The first thing I did was check out myself. And the main difference is instead of being edited by people, it's put together by AI. And so it's a language model. So it flows. It has a beautiful flow, I will say. It's like writing a story of someone's life. But it couldn't resist calling me far left political cartoonist and commentator, Ted Rall, as opposed to. But Nicholas Fuentes was just influencer, just influencer. So. He's not far right. Look, I'll own the far left, but I'll label totally not ashamed. But I don't think Nick Fuentes is ashamed of being far right either.
No, I don't think he is. He was on Tucker Carlson yesterday or the day before yesterday, kind of trying unsuccessfully to come off as a moderate. But he did jump in on the side of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey and others criticizing Israel, which was actually nice to see. Although you would kind of expect that from a neo-Nazi.
Annoying. No sound. Okay, let me try this again.
Dang it.
Okay. Okay, now let's see. Any luck?
How's that, folks? Can you hear us? No.
Hello, hello, hello. Testing, testing. That is so irritating. All good.
Okay, how's that? So
okay,
we're good?
all right.
Okay, great.
We're sorry.
Great.
This is apparently a
Thanks.
Rumble Studio glitch. Apparently, it's been glitchy all morning, and that can happen. Okay, so we were just talking about. I was asking John about the shutdown and the SNAP benefits and ACA. What's going to happen with Republicans?
You know, I'm not ashamed to say that within 2 weeks of my arrest, I had to put my family on food stamps. We literally didn't have enough money to buy food. There are tens of millions of Americans who are in the same predicament. And this thing is running out of money tomorrow. The Democrats, I fear, see this only as a campaign slogan. The Republicans don't give a shit if people go without food, because the Republican view of anybody on food stamps is that they're lazy and they're refusing to work. And that's just not the case. There are plenty of people who work full-time jobs who are on food stamps. So I'm not optimistic, Ted. I don't think Donald Trump gives a shit about people who are hungry. Nobody should be hungry in the United States. But I don't think either one of the political parties really care about the issue either.
No, I don't think they really care, actually. But I do think they're going to. I think the Democrats are currently eating the Republicans' lunches politically in terms of popularity, though.
I agree.
I think the Republicans are going to blink. They have to.
Yeah, they have to. Yes.
Well, I think we should probably wrap it up because we have a minute to go, and also apparently our sound is all fucked up too. So, thanks everyone for bearing with us. Really appreciate you. Just a reminder. That Deprogram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou airs live at Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. That's 6 a.m. out on the Pacific Coast. Thanks all of us for joining. Please like, follow, and share the show. John, have a good time out there in Europe.
Thanks, buddy.
You're back. You're still there tomorrow?
And still there tomorrow. Coming back Sunday.
Rumble's screwing up here stateside, but you were great. You know, your signal's great now. So
finally,
never a dull moment. Please like. I already said that part. We will see you tomorrow. Please stay tuned for the TMI show with Ted Rall and Manila Chan. That's me, Ted Rall. We'll have a very, I think, pre-Halloweeny kind of take on the news. So anyway, keep that going, and we will talk to you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, John.